Eden Koz here with Just Be, and we are about to take a spiritual boom. We are at an unprecedented time in human history where we are transitioning from 3D to 5D within the great spiritual awakening. This video and audio podcast is the place for you to find your truth beyond politics, your sovereignty, your voice. Let's kick up your vibration now. By the way, each episode ends with the Just Be practice to do just that. And as we begin the show, just to know a little bit more about me, I'm a soul realignment specialist, meditation master, and dimensional healer. Learn more, and there's merch also at EdenJustBe.com. Let's get this party started. Let me prepare myself. Eden. Just Be Spiritual Boom in association with the Grassroots Warrior Network. And I'm so grateful for them because all my stuff is decreasing in numbers in terms of audio and other visual. It's a little like I try not to get depressed when I look at the numbers now because like the past couple of weeks, they really shot down. So I am really thankful for the Grassroots Network because that just continues to keep growing, and knowing that numbers aren't important yet, it's still interesting. My only reoccurring guests about every 6 to 7 weeks. Welcome back, Interstellar, Star, Galactic Communicators, Pia and Cullen. Hello, you two.
Always glad to share with you.
Thank you. We are going to get into it today. And at the end, we will end with additional words of enlightenment and encouragement, which we always need, from their Pleiadian group connection, Laarkmaa. And wow, we are at a time. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there today. My intention is today to shift into a higher level of being, even if it's a small shift or something, because I feel like I'm at that time. So much happened last week. So I'm just going to make this proclamation today. And now I'm going to read y'all's bio. Husband and wife, PhD's, Pia Smith Orleane and Cullen Baird Smith, communicators to the stars, writers, visionaries, intuitives. Pia being a former psychologist and Cullen being trained in anthropology and archaeology. Together, and it has to be both of them, they bring planetary wisdom from the stars from a group of Pleiadian light beings, which I just stated, known as Laarkmaa. They have offered decades of extraordinary work and commitment to Earth and humanity, and they are not stopping. All right, how y'all doing today?
Really well, thank you.
A friend of mine used to tell me when people asked him that question, his answer would be ever better.
I like that. I want to discuss, if y'all don't mind, giving, before we begin, or as we begin, just a general talk about what is going on in our world. You know, and I've been doing this podcast for over two years, and we talk about this all the time, but I feel like it for a moment to give just a general statement about this great awakening and what it is and where we are at this time, because I feel, and again, we record this 2 weeks in advance, that I feel the assassination attempt of Donald Trump, that was a big energy shift in where we are. So yeah, can y'all talk generally about what's going on first?
Well, what? You go first.
No, you go first.
You go.
I would simply say humanity has entered a zone of complete and utter change. We as a species have never, ever gone through this kind of transformative possibility. We're experiencing things that we've never experienced, and we are absolutely learning and digesting things that have never been possible.
I would add to that by saying we have so much cosmic influences on us that we don't understand. Yes. We may not be connected to or aware of, but they're impacting us spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. We have right now 4 planets retrograde, and we're having a 5th one that'll be retrograde by August 1st. And throughout the rest of the year, we reach the point where we have 6 or 7 planets retrograde at one time.
Okay, Pia, can you explain to people what that means?
When a planet goes retrograde, it changes in its orbit. And from our position on Earth, it looks like it's moving backwards, but it really isn't. It's just shifting its orbit. What that does, according to astrological influence, is gives us time to go inward and focus on whatever the essence of that planet brings. Everybody pretty much knows Mercury retrograde messes up communication. So if you look at all the other retrogrades, no matter what they are, each planet represents a specific thing. So right now we have Saturn retrograde, which is affecting our structure, all kinds of political structure, earth structure, our physical structure. That's definitely part of it. Neptune retrograde, which means reevaluate your thoughts about spirituality, religion, meditation, anything that you see in the higher realms, time to go inward and realign with that. Chiron retrograde, look at your diet, look at your choices, look what you need to do to rebalance your health, all of those things right now. And then Mercury turns retrograde in just a few days. In addition to that, we have Pluto, the great transformer, retrograde. Look at what it is you're transforming. Go inwards and look at what you're transforming. So that's just one position.
So in essence, the sun is doing things it has never done. The CMEs, the coronal mass ejections that we're experiencing have never been, at least in modern human history, have never been this potent or radical. So we're getting what Pia just explained from a non-sun planetary situation. We're also getting the influence of the sun,
which is on a solar maximum.
So we're experiencing the whole ball game all at once, and I don't think we've ever had to cope with this much change or this much enormity of energies that are affecting us all. I mean, some people are more sensitive to what's going on, some people are less sensitive, but I think everybody is being affected by all of these different elements.
So in relationship to what the sun is doing, you can walk outside and glance at the sun at sunset, and you can see it is a brilliant white sphere. It is no longer our friendly golden sun. It is burning white hot. So you can see it. But people don't usually do that. What they notice is, oh gosh, I'm so tired. I'm so fatigued. I don't feel like I can put one foot in front of the other. My bones ache. Everything hurts. Nothing's working right. Because we have all this plasma coming in that accompanies the coronal mass ejections and the cosmic rays that come in also, because our magnetosphere is being lessened. Weakened, thank you. Weakened. So all of that is impacting us all at once. So it makes us feel physically off balance, emotionally distressed, mentally foggy, brain fog, all these things. So that's what we're going through.
I heard that the sun is a portal, or heard someone talking about that. What do y'all think on that matter?
I would say the sun absolutely can be a portal.
Can be.
If we choose to align to our star, if we choose to align our light with our star's light, it absolutely can bring portal experiences. And Cullen and I can attest to that because we sun gazed for
three solid years.
3 years. We sun gazed every day, sometimes twice a day, sometimes at sunrise and at sunset. And it altered us. It changed our appetite. It changed what we wanted for food. It changed the way we saw colors. It heightened our spiritual awareness. It was absolutely portal experience. So yes, the sun very much can be a portal.
I don't think most people understand how important the sun is. Everybody knows that the energy of the sun drives the food chain. I mean, without the sun, there would be no photosynthesis. There would be no green things growing. And whether someone is a vegetarian or a meat eater, the sun is causing all of the food, whether whether an animal eats the grass and then a human eats the animal, or whether people just eat the grass themselves, without that effect of the sun, there would be no life here. But that's not only the real topic. The real topic is it keeps us alive through its energy. And people don't on a regular basis, not on a daily basis, understand that if there was no sun, there would be no life, separate from just the food angle. Mm-hmm. And when we sun gazed, we thanked the sun every day for what it brought us and how it affected us. And I think even on top of what Pia just said about how it did affect us, I think that communication was a reciprocal communication. Mm-hmm. I think the sun understands when we thank it. I think there's a communication link between gratitude, thankfulness, and how there's an interaction between all life, not just humans, but all life and the sun.
We have so many people emailing us asking, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? I just want to heal and get better and back into balance. That I actually decided to host a workshop, which will be happening before your show airs, called Healing During the Ascension Process. But it talks about all the symptoms we're talking about now, and it gives multiple ways in a cross discussion of how collectively and individually we can move through this process with more grace and flow and help and support. I'm mentioning it to you now because by the time you present this show, there will be a recording available for people to be able to access it if they want to look back and see anything that might be helpful to them individually.
Okay. And just give me the link when that's ready and I'll post it for sure. Can y'all, two things. How did you both sun gaze? And also, I know that through geoengineering, covering up the sun, that there's also this thing, you cannot be in the sun, you have to put on sunscreen, which I didn't put on sunscreen a while back and I got severely burned. But also my mentor said, hey, you're still in 3D, Eden, you can't, to fully not put on sunscreen, especially since I have fair skin. It was an interesting experience for me. All right, can y'all talk about sun gazing first, and then how we've been taught that the sun is, in a sense, part of it is bad?
I'd like to do that in reverse order.
Okay, excellent. Please.
So I am not a believer in sunscreen.
Oops.
Oh.
I was deciding not to talk about that.
Oh yeah, I know it's toxic and yes, I get it.
The reason why, Eden, is because I think our body gives us natural warnings about how to be in the sun and how long. And our intellect can kick in and go, well, my skin's fair and I haven't been in the sun in a while. Maybe I should wear a hat and long sleeves. That's much more natural and protective than slathering chemical stuff that can cause cancer all over the body. So I'm not a big fan of sunscreen.
There is a plethora of scientific information about the dangers of using sunscreen. And without going into this too deeply, because that wasn't your question, sunscreen from our point of view is part of the agenda to harm people. And there are so many adverse chemicals in it, and it's all brands, it doesn't matter which one. Actually, it's more carcinogenic than many other things in our modern world. And I would always advise people to stay away from sunscreen. Here's an example. Australia they still do, use sunscreen on a daily basis. The amount of skin cancer that became known in Australia years ago was absolutely related not to the damage of the sun, but from the damage of the sunscreen. So we're absolute non-believers in the Madison Avenue advertising and the big pharma push that everybody should wear sunscreen when they're outside.
If you add in, Cullen mentioned that we think is part of the agenda. If you add in the fact that they are also now saying, oh, you can't be in the sun, it's dangerous. That disconnects us from our star. Of course, we want to be communicating and connecting with our star. We just have to be more careful now because it's hotter. So we have to pay attention on what's appropriate and communicating with our star. You don't go out and look at it in the middle of the day. You only glance at it briefly for seconds, sunrise and sunset, to keep yourself safe.
Well,
Go ahead.
In the beginning, you asked us how we started and how we did it.
Yeah.
We read a book by an Indian man, many years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And he was explaining the benefits of sun gazing. And we looked at each other and went, wait a minute. We were told in school, never look at the sun directly.
Right.
It will burn your retinas. It will ruin you, blah, 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 blah. And we read his book and it was really intriguing. So we thought, okay, let's see what it's like. We started with 5 seconds. The first day we did 5 seconds. Second day we did 10 seconds. We worked up to a half an hour of direct gazing into the sun only as the sun came over the horizon at the very beginning of the morning. It's also true that you can do this at sunset, a half an hour before the sun actually completely goes beyond the horizon. So for those 3 years, we would get up and watch incrementally. I mean, after a few weeks, we just spent the entire half hour doing it. And we had no abnormal deleterious effects, nothing. It was a completely, as Pia said, a wonderful experience. The colors, what we would do is after we sun gazed, we'd go back into the house and close our eyes for a few minutes, sit down on the couch or in a chair, closed our eyes, and we had these amazing closed-eyed experiences. The colors we saw were unearthly. The information that we were receiving was profound. I mean, it was an amazing experience for us.
But again, I will go back to anybody who's listening. You don't just jump out there and start with 30 minutes. You absolutely have to start incrementally, very slowly. And I don't even know with the intensity of the sun now, if building up to 30 minutes would be advisable in the current circumstances. So caution.
Got it. And this brings me to bug spray. What do y'all think about bug spray?
Well, we have a policy of ahimsa, which is don't kill anything. So that's our first statement. Is we take spiders outside, we take wasps outside, anything that wanders in that doesn't belong in our domain, we capture it and carry it outside.
I think petrochemical derived bug spray is absolutely not a good thing. Natural things that will deter bugs from being around us, we're all for. I mean,
for instance, we use baking soda every spring around our house.
Oh, that's lovely.
Baking soda keeps ants away. They don't like it, but it won't kill them. But it keeps them away. They don't like it.
Okay, that's interesting because I have ants every year. So do you put it just around the perimeter?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And there's a big, I'll add this in there too. Baking soda, like y'all tell me what you think about this too, like Arm & Hammer, to go to really good baking soda. Is it Red Mill? Do y'all have a specific baking soda that you use?
Well, the ants, I don't think it matters because they're avoiding it anyway. So you don't need to get the highest grade.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. There are 5 grades of baking soda.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's industrial. There's commercial. There's I can't remember all of them, but it works up to pharmaceutical grade, which is the top. And I don't think spending money on the top tier is necessary. I don't think ants would care whether they're being keeping them from penetrating the house with a most costly one.
We also use baking soda, sodium bicarbonate, to alkalize our own bodies, which is a good thing to add in if you're going to be doing sun gazing and eating natural foods. That's something that we use that's also helpful.
Almost all humans, whether they believe it, know it, or believe it, are almost completely acid in their bodies. Especially the SAD diet, the standard American diet, causes an acidic, a terribly acidic, what's the word, component, makeup in the human body.
We need to alkalize.
We need to alkalize because almost all diseases come from too much acidity in the body being out of balance. So using sodium bicarbonate to realkalize the body is incredibly important. And we've discovered,
I was going to say, we can send you a link you can add in your show, because we've discovered the highest quality on the planet. The quality of bake, if you want to take it internally, not just to keep the ants away.
Okay,
but
yes.
There's no guarantee or advertisement that this is to heal, cure, or do anything to any disease.
Right.
This is simply something to help alkalize your body. This source is made from a material that's deep in the water. Most sodium in the ground, under a lake. It's pulled out underground from a lake. Anyway, it's something that's natural. Most sodium bicarbonate comes from processing it with ammonia and hydrochloric acid, which isn't so good on the human system. So you think you're buying something really good, but it's not as pure as you'd like. So we've discovered one we're really quite fond of and think it's really helping.
Okay, that would be awesome, because I put it in my bath. Do y'all ingest it like food also?
Well,
or skin?
What we do, Eden, is we drink like a quarter teaspoon, a half teaspoon, eighth of a teaspoon, whatever your individual body can handle. Okay. We do it 30 minutes before a meal or 2 hours after a meal, 3 or 4 times a day. And then you build up gradually how much you can maintain in your body. And when you feel comfortable with it, you keep your body at an alkaline level for a really long time. And then you can come back down to a medium level, because you are getting rid of the acid in your body along the pathways as you do this.
Okay, so if you, what could you potentially experience if you're taking that internally and getting your body back in balance? Can you get nauseous? What are some of the effects?
Well, it's a little bit like taking vitamin C. Do you want to explain this?
Sure. It's anything that you do for healing can potentially have a healing crisis. And as Cullen just said, it's a little bit like vitamin C, which means simply take it to your bowel tolerance, because your own body will tell you, that's enough. I don't want any more right now.
Okay.
Or it will say, give me more, please. Your body will be your guideline for how much you do.
But there will be, because so many people are so acidic, there will be I guess it would be called a healing crisis. And initially, if one takes too much, probably diarrhea will occur.
For most people, but maybe not. Maybe not. You start slowly. I mean, you can put an eighth of a teaspoon in a big jug of water and sip it all day long, and start that slowly if that's what your system needs.
Yeah, it stays viable in water all day long, probably for days on end. So if you do put it in a vessel that you use to sip all day long, which many people are doing these days, it'll stay fresh and viable. It won't go sour or deteriorate.
There's something else that we've been mistrained or bad training, lied to, confusion in the training, something, I don't know what to call it. But we have been taught all of our lives that our pH has to be tested. pH is simply how much acidity the system has. Alkalinity, on the other hand, states how much a substance like sodium bicarbonate can neutralize the acid. So you need to check both, not just the pH level, but also the alkalinity level. And the company that I'm talking about, which I will provide you the links for all your listeners, they provide these neat little strips that will test both where your pH is and where your alkalinity is. And you can check it once a week. Simply put it under your tongue for 5 or 10 seconds. Look and see where you are, and you can track your progress as you become more and more alkaline.
It's amazing, Eden. Yeah. There has been total misinformation about pH and alkalinity, and
just like everything else.
Just like everything. I know. I'm okay. Yes.
All the waters that are available around the world that say high pH, or they give numbers 9.5, which is way above the 7.5. That's the balance state of where we should be. All of these waters, through their advertising and what they have printed on the bottle, are absolutely untrue. These companies don't have the science. It's hard for us to believe.
They might have a low pH, but they do absolutely nothing to neutralize the acid in your system.
And so
there's no alkalinity.
It's really up to us to do research, all of us, to figure out what the real truth is. And here's another big one that's a blockbuster idea. The whole idea of a pH balanced diet is also absolutely untrue. There is no pH balanced diet.
You need an alkaline diet. In other words, foods that help your body alkalize. What people don't understand is that, and again, this is not in any way saying that this can heal, cure, or do anything with any disease, but the proper high quality bicarbonate, sodium bicarbonate, what it does is it neutralizes the environment around the cells and the organs, so the cells and the organs can function properly. If your environment is toxic and acidic, that's where disease comes from. So you just neutralize your environment and let your body do the work to return you to a state of health and balance.
So that was a really long answer.
Long answer to your question.
To your question.
A very good answer, because it needed to be detailed. So that was really great. Going back to the American diet, I remember before I knew about the Great Awakening, when my daughters were in school, and the food pyramid, I was like, what is this? And then going into schools and watching what they were feeding the children. And I would just look in disgust, and I talked to principals about it, and everyone just, poo-pooed me off. And I would never allow my kids to eat that junk, because it's sugar-based, processed, and they would bring their own lunches. And plus the fact that they went to public school, I would not do that now as well. Yet I would go and eat lunch with them sometimes, and I would take pictures of the kids, their food, and post it. It was just unbelievable to me. Okay, I'm going to get on my, it's not being on a high horse, but that parents didn't realize or didn't do anything about, like processed chicken nuggets, and then there'd be a pudding. Okay, so processed chicken nuggets, a pudding, and then strawberry chocolate milk, and then or pizza that was just laden with sugar. It was just a sugar lunch. And then all the ADHD and all the behavioral problems. And I'm sitting here going, why am I the only person that sees this? And this was 10 or 15 years ago.
This is amazing that you're bringing this up. We have a colleague who has studied the sugar intake of children internationally, and he has come up with some statistics that are just alarming. He did that also. He went to public school and looked at the lunches, and here's what he came up with. The average kid that's being fed a lunch that's not made by their parents in a healthy way that they take to school, they're getting 42 kilograms of sugar a year. Now, 42 kilograms is 88 pounds of sugar a year. Can you imagine how many bags and bushel baskets 88 pounds of sugar is
For a little kid.
for a little kid? And that's only what they're getting at school. That is not the sweetened cereals they're eating, or the Pop-Tarts, or the other things they're eating at home. It's incredible. Sugar is absolutely the evilest food product on this earth. And it's insidious that it's targeted towards children.
Purposefully. And
Yes.
I will add to that, since I've stopped eating sugar now for like a year and a half, it is in everything. So I pull some hummus and I'm like, oh my gosh, this hummus has sugar in it. I mean, it's literally, you have to be so mindful and careful in terms of what you eat. Ketchup, obviously. I don't know if it's in mustard, but salad dressings. Oh my, it's everywhere.
Mustard has vinegar in it, which is also highly acidic and not good for you.
Oh my gosh.
Everything. I mean,
you can go through everything. If it's processed, it's got additives that aren't good for you.
Pasta sauce that you can buy at Whole Foods Market that says all natural. I mean, there's a Whole Foods has its own brand. 365 is the name of it. They sell Paul Newman's pasta sauce. They're all laced with sugar, but they all say all natural.
It's you can't, it's almost like you can't avoid everything. So I also encourage, and I hear with what you guys would say, just, having gratitude and praying with what you're going to eat, like bringing as much light into everything as possible, because it's also like organic, and all the chemtrails and raining down aluminum and toxins on all the foods. I mean, it's just, our environment right now is just like, how would y'all suggest dealing with it and being in it, but yet not of it?
Well,
as I smile this crazy smile.
That's a very good question, Eden. The toxicity on this planet is ever present, whether it's geochemical engineering, whether it's food, whether it's pesticides and herbicides. We're being bombarded from every angle, every position. And what we can do is do our best to buy organic, read labels, and do everything we can do to educate ourselves. Because, of course, as I used pasta sauce as an example, there are pasta sauces out there that have no sugar in them, but you have to research, you have to read the label. I think part of the Great Awakening is opening our consciousness to understanding that we're responsible for the health of our own lives. And by doing that, we have to be ever vigilant. We really have to be looking at everything in our environment, everything. And that means the water we drink, the food we eat. It encompasses everything that's available for us to sustain our lives. And we can be thankful and filled with gratitude that we can find these good products, but we can't shield ourselves completely from things like geochemical engineering, because it's being put into the environment.
So back to getting your own environment inside as healthy as you can with good thoughts, gratitude, a good perspective and attitude, and your natural environment by choosing what you can that will help you alkalize and keep yourself healthy as you deal with all these toxins that are in the external environment. That's the best way to seek balance.
There's also another dietary situation besides alkalinity and pH, and that's eating inflammatory foods.
Oh yeah.
And this is a tough one to discuss, because some of people's favorite food is absolutely inflammatory, and inflammation is probably, it's either the first or the second thing that causes disease. And something as simple as eating a corn tortilla is absolutely inflammatory. Everybody loves Mexican food.
Corn tortillas, French fries, tomato sauce.
I mean,
those are all highly inflammatory.
There are many, many things in the vegetable kingdom that are that cause inflammation.
But you can also spice up your diet with things that are healthy. When you take away the things that you love, that you go, how am I going to live without this? You can find alternatives that are pretty good.
So it's another research situation where, what am I eating that my body really doesn't want? And that's just not talking about snack foods or sugar or junk food. It's, let's look at everything we eat, do some research and find out, is it inflammatory? Is it acid rather than alkaline? And if we don't do that homework, we're not really going to be as healthy as we want to be.
Oh, and corn has been so modified as well. Like corn and corn, like especially when you drive in Ohio, there are so many farms here. How many farms are corn at this point? It's just fascinating to use a kind word for that. All right, I want to take just a second and talk about aging. So many of the paradigms of aging that we've been taught, I believe, are not true. And the agendas with aging, and also it's put out there on TV that people and movies and beauty and all of that, like aging is bad. Wrinkles are bad. When you get older, you're going to lose your mind. You're not going to be smart anymore. And then all the embodiments of people that are older in any sort of entertainment, they're stupid. They are made to look, like, again, aging, not good. And I will add to this too. It wasn't until I hit my 50s that I was like, oh, everything's great. And suddenly in 50, I was like, oh, this is changing my skin. Like I started feeling my skin like last week going, oh my God, something feels really different. So it's the same thing being of it, but not in it yet. Okay, this is very complicated to describe, yet knowing there are changes, yet not buying into some of the changes. It's very complicated. What would y'all say to that?
Well, first,
go ahead.
First, what we've already just discussed, inflammatory foods, being in an acid condition causes aging more rapidly than it needs to happen. That's one thing.
Our choices catch up with us.
But aging is a natural process. Pia just finished a book that I'm now reading that was sent to us by some friends about health related situations from an Indian point of view, not Ayurvedic medicine, a different strain of Indian wisdom. And it talks about how there are so many Indians that live to 105, 115, 125, 147. And these are real people. These are not made up statistics. And the way they live through eating the right things, having the right thoughts, and using ancient medical techniques allows these people to be that old. So there are ways to help us not age, number one, as quickly, and number two, to live a much, much longer active life.
So I would say in terms of aging, you're right that the agenda wants us to think that when we get old, it's a natural thing, it's going to happen, we're going to lose our minds, we'll become incompetent.
Decrepit.
All those things, decrepit, great word. All those things are projected on us. So I say the very first place to start is don't believe that. Age is a state of mind. Get rid of the belief. Yes, the body is going to change. Yes, the body will not look like it did 30 years ago. There will be changes, but you can keep your mind alert. You can keep your body in good health. You can continue doing the same things you do or want to do with a lot more wisdom. So for me, the idea of aging is, it's a changing from the belief of I'm going to get old and then I'm going to die and it's going to hurt. To I'm going to gather my wisdom. I'm going to find different ways to be of service, and I'm going to keep my body in a good state while I'm doing it.
I think one of the best ways to look at this is simply adjusting to the changes.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, oh, I have wrinkles, my hair's turning gray, I've gained weight, this and that. It's being okay looking at the adjustments, and the adjustments will happen. There's no doubt about that. Until we create an environment where there's no toxicity and we can live longer and more healthily, we just need to adjust. Okay, I have aged. I can't run a marathon anymore. I can't climb a mountain anymore, but that's okay because I can still walk. I can still hike moderately. I can still do things. So we just have to adjust our, as Pia said, our belief system about what's happening to us.
Here's a really good example, Eden. When women go through menopause in the Western culture, they go, oh my God, I'm getting old. And they run to the doctor to get hormones to make them young again. When I was writing my book, Sacred Retreat, I interviewed some doctors and I interviewed people in different cultures around the world. And I found out that only in Western cultures is menopause considered a bad thing. And only in Western cultures is menopause medicated as if something's wrong.
Right.
In other cultures, they just look at you and say, hey, your thermostat's just changing. Don't take your sweater with you. Take it on, put it off, put it on, take it off. Just be comfortable. You're going through changes. You'll regulate. Just give it some space.
And
that's a healthy attitude, because that doesn't assign a woman to, you're getting old and you're not going to be attractive anymore. Exactly. Nobody will have use for you anymore. All those Western concepts that we are pummeled with.
It takes it.
May I interject for just a second?
Yeah,
also,
sure.
that concept is, and you feel it all around, that when you get older, you are useless. Okay. And also menopause, croning, which is a really interesting word, and just increasing. Like I do feel, and my clients that I have that are older, there is such a wisdom of experience. I mean, their experiences like y'all's are just, wow, look at that. And you've done this and you've done that. It's amazing. So to get back to that aging has amazing qualities. Okay, go ahead, Cullen.
Well, what I was just going to say is we need to stop looking at diagnosis.
Yes.
Because the diagnosis is, if we use menopause as the example again, the diagnosis is you're going to feel like heck and you're going to age through the process. Those belief systems, as we said a moment ago, are erroneous. They're not real. And for menopause, I think what women need to do is just use what I said earlier, just adjust. Just see that you're doing something different. You're experiencing your body and your life differently. It doesn't make it bad.
Same thing applies to andropause for men. I wrote about that in Sacred Retreat also. But it all comes down to the same thing of doing exactly what Cullen said, change your perspective and go into it with the idea of, I'm going to be different, but I'm going to be great.
Like an evolution.
Yes.
Yes,
can just
exactly.
be an evolution.
Yes.
That's a great description of that.
Right. So, and we've been taught, again, this evolution of aging is bad. You're going to look bad. Like you said, Pia, you're going to be unattractive. And society basically deems you as useless. So I would like to tell everybody out there, not you. I mean, look at us talking, and the wisdom and the saging versus aging that can happen, and turning us back to that and knowing that all of these paradigms are shifting. So let's shift this one as well, to an evolution. How y'all feel about that?
I think that's perfect.
Okay.
Good suggestion.
All right. I write notes during this because I produce the show. And I put really pivotal topics down that we've talked about as well. Shall we go to Laarkmaa, or is there anything else you guys want to add before we go there?
I can't think of anything to add.
The only thing I would bring up is the idea of the Great Awakening. It seems to me that all that really means is conscious awareness of who we are, what we're choosing to do, and expanding our consciousness. And I think that's a pretty simple explanation of what both of you just explained about. It's just an evolution. And many people are waking up more than in any other generation. I mean, when we look back at our parents' generation or our grandparents' generation, they were pretty much, on the whole, involved in materialism and raising a family, going to work. And there really wasn't much beyond that. They weren't really looking at, who am I? What am I made of? Where did I come from? Where am I going? That kind of thought process didn't really exist. We're the first generation after our parents that are either willing or eager to ask these questions. And if we don't ask these questions, how is evolving going to happen? And so we've been given an opportunity somehow. I don't know. I mean, I've looked at this for years. I don't know exactly where it comes from. Probably many different places, but we're different. And we're making a change, just like things like your podcast, bringing this kind of information to people. That didn't happen last generation. So we're actually moving in a completely different direction, which is causing part of the Great Awakening. And it's a wonderful thing that this is actually happening.
Thank you. All right. Shall we begin our next segment or our close? Thank you, Cullen.
Just be practice.
Hello, dear one. We are Laarkmaa. We are here to support you on your evolutionary journey. We've been interested in listening to your conversation this day, and we would add one very important word to what's going on. You're asking how you can respond to the external environment and all the things that are changing around you. We have been listening to all the things that have been offered, and we would add the one word, responsibility. In other words, you respond by being responsible to make wiser and higher frequency choices moment by moment. As you become more and more aware, or as you said, awake, as you become aligned with the higher frequencies, you begin to understand more clearly what causes you harm, where your addictive patterns may be, what are the things that you may prefer but you recognize are not higher frequency choices, and what changes do you need to make? When you start making these changes on your internal environment, your heart, your thoughts, how you feel about things, your perspective, your choices of what you eat, what you drink, what you listen to, how you use your words with others. Are you kind? Are your tones soft? Are you judgmental? Or are you compassionate? All of these things, when you start making them change within you, but the internal environment, will ripple out into the external world to reach the place that you, Eden, already are saying everyone should do. Just be. But you cannot just be if you're caught in a loop of struggle, of I'm hurting, I'm not happy, things don't feel good in my body, things aren't working well in my world, and I'm worried about it. If you're caught in that loop of making poor choices or thinking lower vibrational thoughts or having emotions run your life rather than letting the emotions guide you to what needs to change, then you cannot reach the state to just be. But when you reach the state of just being, you are in the place of being who you truly are. You are light and you are love. And all you need to do to influence changes in the outer world at that point is simply just be. Be yourself, be your light, be your love. That's the key message that we would like to give today. But do you have specific questions you would like to ask while we are here with you?
Okay, give me just a second. Thank you so much for that. And I was going to ask how to connect further to the ascension, and knowing that Pia and Cullen talked about all the retrogrades that are going on right now, that they are all pointing to going inside yourself. Can you give more information on that, or just describe that further?
We can certainly expand on that.
Thank you.
As we were talking about correcting everything on your inner level to influence the outer level, if you wish to connect more with the ascension process, you have to first of all rid yourself of all fear that you're not going to make it or that it's going to hurt. Get rid of the fear and just accept that whatever you're going through is simply a change or a transformation. Fear is the lowest vibration on this planet. And by the way, sugar feeds fear. So if you're eating sugar in any form, even if it's an occasional piece of birthday cake or an occasional cookie, if you're ingesting sugar, you're feeding that lifelong propensity of having fearful circumstances and fearful emotions rule your life. So get rid of the fear first. Begin to trust this process that you are involved in and be curious about what comes next. Rather than trying to constantly define it and control it by saying, what do I need to do to be safe? Instead, begin to think, what do I need to do to go with the flow? How do I need to be to accept the flow of what is happening within me and without me? Where do I need to stand up and yell, yes, this is right? And where do I need to stand up and put my hand out and say, no, I will not agree to this any longer? All of these are changes that come from the inside. The planetary influences are all pointing towards different aspects of change that you are undergoing. The big transformation of being a third-dimensional human to a multidimensional human is being addressed by Pluto. The structural changes in your money, in your healthcare system, in your politics, in your governments, in your organizations is being examined when you go inside and meditate upon your structure. Even the structure of your form gets changed when Saturn turns its attention towards your inner structure. Looking at where your most profound healing can occur happens when Chiron moves into retrograde. And you all know that when Mercury is in retrograde, you have to watch your words, your tones, and how you are projecting your energy out into the world. Are you listening well? Are you speaking with kindness? Are you using soft tones that are compassionate and sweet? We have a favorite saying that we have heard before, and we would like to repeat it. And that is, whenever you are speaking, ask yourself 3 questions before you open your mouth. Is this true? Second question, is it necessary? Third question, is it kind? Because most people get hung up around number 2, believing that they have to speak whatever it is they view as being the truth. Sometimes that's not required. Sometimes you need to allow other people just to be where they are and grow at their own pace. And whatever you may be seeing may not be necessary for you to voice to them. Also, when you look at, am I being kind? Check your tones. How would you like others to speak to you? This 3-step guideline can help you even more in turning your internal peace and calm into an external exhibition of how to be in the world. In other words, you begin to teach by example because you speak with kindness, with sincerity and truth, and you say what is necessary, but nothing more unless it is requested. This is a very good way to move forward into just being. Is this helpful?
Oh, very much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. We would wish that each and every one of you will find the courage and the strength to set aside anything that you may be addicted to that is not for your highest good, whether that is a favorite food, flavor, or taste, a favorite kind of activity or music, a favorite loop of conversations where you over-discuss over and over again what's going to happen next, whether you feel you're addicted to having to watch what's happening in the world from your fake news, whatever it may be, examine your habits and ask yourself, am I addicted to this habit, or can I take in my information directly from source, my own heart, and my intuition? Can I take in more information from others who are like-hearted and who have a higher frequency vibration, who choose to see the world through a different lens? Look at your habits and determine if they are addictive. If they are, change them. If they are things that are good habits, enhance them. But these are things you can do, particularly now and the rest of 2024, as you work on all the interior of who you are and begin to expand more and more into who you are becoming as you reach the point of being able to just be light and love. Thank you for your insightful question and your wonderful show that helps others. We love you. Good always.
Hello, you all. It was great. I like the speaking true. I wrote these down. True, necessary, which that's a big one, and kind. And I did want to ask you guys one more thing, or to state it and to see how you feel. In my own transition, let's call it that, in the last 4 years, in altering huge relationships for myself and bringing so much internal versus being out in the world, just, and it's not hiding here, but I just felt like this period of time I really needed more to discover who I am, to learn to love myself, and for things to be really quiet. And the past couple weeks, realizing for myself, it is time to get back into community again, time to put myself out there. And to put myself out there, I have this new, see how I describe it, this new strength, I can be myself completely. And it's not that, it's like, it doesn't matter if anyone judges me anymore. Like, I'm stronger with that, but I don't have to wear that on my sleeve. I just have to be, not have to, I'm just going to be me in any situation, and getting back to people again, and bringing people together, because that's what I, in the past, was really good at. And now I feel like I can step into that again in a new way and really help with this evolution and transition, and bringing people together of all like minds and all different experiences. Where are you guys within that? How do you feel about that?
I think you have to follow your heart. And if it feels like it's right timing for you,
It
then you
does.
follow that because your heart's guiding you in a certain direction. And I would also say that in your time alone, you've probably, from my guess, knowing you, you've probably instituted stronger boundaries so that you know how
Yes.
to walk away and say, no, thank you, and not take something in that might be hurtful. And that's really, really helpful when you start engaging in community, because not everybody who wants a community has learned the skill set of not saying things that aren't necessary.
And it's really interesting that word necessary. It feels necessary for me to do this, not only for me, and I don't mean to sound corny here, but for the world, because there's a lot of trauma that is happening literally outside of my front door. And if I can come in and just be peace, that I feel is really necessary right now. It was strong for me to just be and be peace here by myself. Now I can truly step out and, like what you said, Pia, with boundaries. I feel safe within myself to do so.
Good way to say
Yeah,
it.
that's excellent. I think
Mm.
we have to submerge ourselves into our own private world from time to time.
Yeah.
I don't think we just do it once at a certain age or a certain time in our maturity. I think we have to probably repeatedly do that as we're changing to really gauge how we've changed, not comparing ourselves to anyone else, only comparing ourselves to who we were and who we are now. I think that's a really important tool to do that. But as you said, once we do that, I think the call of service brings us out so that inner wisdom, that inner experience can then be shared in a larger way with others and the public. So I think it's probably a cyclical process where at certain times, yes, we need to go within. Yes, we need to assess who we are, what we've accomplished, how we've changed, and then take that out through absolute service to others in the world we live in and the whole cosmos. So I think it's a sort of a undulating process where we're inside, outside, moving towards a greater understanding of what unity conscious means by helping ourselves first, recognizing our strengths, and then taking them outward.
Great. And this podcast to me is an act of service, yet I do it here in my space. So now to take that out even further, and this is about talking about the Great Awakening. But for me, I hope y'all don't mind me talk about this for a moment. It's a good proclamation again for me to make sure I do it, which I will. Yet to take all of this and go out in the world and not have to talk about it, but just be it. Where here we talk about it, yet also being strong enough where I can go out and just be it and be around all different opinions and all different criticisms and just be that balance and that divine light. I'm ready. Let's go.
Well, I think that's extremely important. One of my teachers along the way, something that I trained in 40 odd years ago, maybe even towards 50 years ago.
Fun.
The master that I was working with said, look, you've learned something new here that we've been involved with together. And you don't have to use this training, this new skill that you have specifically out in the world. What you really need to do is every time you go out into the world, simply spread positive energy. simply spread love, simply spread a smile, whether you're at a movie theater, a grocery store, wherever you are, simply be the light and the energy that you are. And he said, of course, you can do that within the practice that you've just, the years of training you've gone through to be able to do this particular skill. You can also do it through that, but you don't have to limit yourself to only while you're working with a client or a patient. Do it everywhere you go. Spread that energy. And I think that's really important, that we don't have to be doing something specific. We don't have to be healing somebody. We don't have to be teaching somebody. We can simply do that.
Just be.
Everywhere we are, broadcast that understanding.
We practice that and have practiced it for a really long time. We were practicing it separately before we ever met. And then when we joined together, we have great fun going out and just noticing that somebody smiled because we smiled at them or we said a kind word. It's really very, very nurturing.
Or someone looks troubled, sad, out of balance, a single word, just walking up to them and saying, you have beautiful energy, or you have energy coming out of your eyes, or your smile is just, it's really wonderful.
Or even just saying hello and acknowledging them.
Just being seen right now is huge.
Yeah.
It melts people. I mean, people aren't used to being spoken to like that. Right. Our world is so full of fear, so filled with anxiety, that in today's modern world, people don't really just walk up to someone they don't know and start a conversation. It just isn't part of reality.
Yeah, like to say that the world is unapproachable, but it is.
Yes.
And humanity is so delicious and good, yet we've just forgotten. Oh gosh, I suddenly got very teary. We've forgotten how good we all are.
Yes.
Well said, Eden.
Yes.
Well said.
Yeah. So we can make a difference in tiny little ways that might seem in a singular way not a big deal, but actually all of those little pieces add up to a much, much bigger effect on humanity.
So you said a key thing that we all need to remember. We've forgotten how good we all are. That's so important.
Everyone. And it doesn't matter what they look like, doesn't matter what socioeconomic, like everybody. And that's hard sometimes because these people are bad. And again, it's all about division these days, but yeah, we're all divine.
That's why I like to say, be kind to everyone. You never know how much someone else is suffering.
Okay. I think this is our beautiful sign off. Thank you guys so much. I've got you scheduled, I think, for our next show. And as always, once we finish, we'll schedule the next one out. Thank you guys again so much for being here, lending your knowledge and experience, your saging to all of us. Do y'all mind saying goodbye?
Not at all. See you later.
Bye-bye for now.
Exactly. All right. Next week, y'all. See ya. Y'all, find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, True Social, as well as Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, plus a plethora of other audio directories like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So like, subscribe, do it all. See ya.